Wisconsin Wine Guy, and we're back again with another wine review, and I guess you could say we're back to normal, right? You know, no more lows for a minute, you know, but we're back to just reviewing wines that you can purchase at the stores. Where you purchase, liquor store, wine store, or wine shop, or grocery store, you can find these wines. I like to call these everyday drinking wines, you know, one you can just walk in, pick it off the shelf, and go home, right? So I give a review of these wines, and you know what I think about these wines, utilizing my thumb rating system. Thumbs up says it's a pretty solid wine. Can't go wrong with it. I think it's a good selection, good choice. 3/4. You know, I would dig it. I would share it with my friends. You know, I think it's okay. It's a good wine to drink. It's a good everyday drinking wine. Halfway, something about that wine was off. But I'll let you know why it was off for me. But it's just my opinion, my palate. You give it a taste and let me know, that the rest of us know what you think about the wine. And thumbs down. It seems to be pretty rare I come across some thumbs down wines, but when I do, boy, it is there for sure. All right, so we are going to be doing bread and butter. So let me tell you this. I went on their website just to check out bread and butter, and they have this statement that says, you know, they want to make wines that are complicated. They want you to don't spend a lot of time thinking about the wines, but simply just enjoy the wine. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. Just try to enjoy the wine. I still have to give some insight, but I'm going to try to just simply enjoy the wine. So we're going to be doing the 2021 Chardonnay and the 2021 Pinot Noir, both out of Napa, California, both at 13.5% alcohol. Both are aged in both American and French oak, and the Chardonnay goes through partial secondary fermentation. All right? Does that cover all the technical stuff? All right, so let's get to it. Now, you can find these wines retailed at $13.99 to maybe $12.99, I should say, to maybe $14.99, depending on where you're going to get the wines, if there's a sale going or not, right? So that's the price. We'll give you a taste, give you a look and a taste of these wines. So here we go. So now, get my white background here. So for our two wines, now I don't know if you can tell this or not. We're going to start with this Pinot Noir. Now we're talking about California and Napa. You know, most of the Pinot Noirs you find coming out of California is going to be like dark, dense, like heavy extraction. That's not the case here. I don't know if you can tell that from here. Well, you can almost see through it. But that's not the case here. This is a pretty light colored, you know, Pinot Noir. You know, almost like a Oregon or maybe some Burgundy type Pinot Noirs. You know, so it's not dense and dark like some of the Pinot Noirs you see coming out of California. That's going to be very interesting. On the nose, since I have it, right? Ooh, on the nose for me, you're going to get cherry, tart cherry, dry cherry. Ooh, and you get that toastiness of oak, almost like, because American oak, to give a little bit of that vanilla, almost to make it, to give that little sweet toastiness, right? Like when you spread honey on toast fresh out of the toaster. You ever done that and smell? Oh my God, it just smells fantastic. Oh, wow. Okay, that nose is nice. Ooh, wow. Very aromatic. Now for the Chardonnay. Look at the color of that Chardonnay. Let's get it back right here. When is the last time you see the Chardonnay that golden? That is a pretty golden colored Chardonnay. Oh my God, that's pretty golden. It's almost the same color as the bottle, right? Look at that. Isn't that kind of cool? Clear close to the color of the bottle. So a little greenish hues to it. So our Chardonnay on the nose. Again, now, I don't know if I said this, but you probably heard it before. I like tasting multiple wines from the same brand. Here's why. You get a chance to get an idea of that winemaker who's making these wines. What's their thumbprint? What do they go for? Are they consistent across the board? Or are they here on this varietal, or there on that varietal, or here down the middle of that particular varietal? So on the nose so far, there is consistency between these two wines. You know, I don't know what the percentage they use for American oak, percentage used for French oak, you know, but nose-wise, there is a consistency. Very well blended. A little toastiness, you know, that American oak comes through with sort of vanilla. Wow. But it's more dominant, prominent here in the Pinot Noir. Oh, wow. But then you get that spice blended in. Let's go back to here. There's a lot going on in there. But when you take the Chardonnay by itself, it is very similar, but not as potent as the Pinot Noir on the nose. So, pineapple, grilled pineapple, a little caramelization, some citrus notes. I throw in a little pear. Wow, so that's for our Chardonnay. Now, what's the next step? We're going to taste these wines. First taste, two-step process. First step is going to be tasting for acidity. You know how I feel. If it's a flabby wine, I want no parts of it. We're not even going to go any further with it, right? It may have good flavor, but it's a flabby wine. I might as well drink flavored water, right? All right, here we go. We're going to rinse first, taste for acidity. Get a mouthfeel. So, great acidity, very well blended. I love the way it spreads across my palate. Get a little bit of tannins from here, you know, apart from the time you spent in the wood. Finish, I'm gonna say the finish is kind of long. You can still taste the finish. Okay? Oh yeah, love the way it spreads on my palate. Yeah, that's really nice. Now for the Pinot Noir. Again, great acidity, but very well blended. The tannins, soft, sort of like Chardonnay. You know, fruits right there. Love the way it spreads across my palate. I mean, so that part, that first taste, there's consistency here in these two wines. Now for the actual taste, where we start getting a little bit deeper into the wine. So, again, I'm still going to stick with pineapple. I left the citrus in the background. Creamy, but not over the top. I don't want to say creamy. Okay, I want to say a richness to it, but subdued. For me, it's like a throwback to the old school California Chardonnays, but with a new school flavor to it. Right? It's a little bit more subdued. It's not like the old days where it's like, you know, boom, bomb butter. You know, but it's right there. I think they achieved a good balance in between, you know, old style and new style type of Chardonnays. You know, so that's not bad at all. Okay, fruit. There's a little. Like it finishes dry, but up front, I'm going to the middle. There's a little kiss of sweetness there. Okay, so you get that here. For the Chardonnay. You know, but again, has a smoothness to it. You know, has a very ease of drinking. I can definitely imagine this with food, you know, with the acidity and something rich, and see what's going to happen with it. Okay? And let's go to the Pinot Noir. I mean, again, you get that kiss of sweetness up front, settles in the middle, just being fruity, richness to it, a little bit of caramelization, and here you get a bit more like ash smoke, but almost like a sweet smelling cigar. You know, just on the taste there. You know, if you ever smoke a cigar, then you know what I mean. If you haven't, then let's go back and utilize the toasted honey. Okay. But there's a kiss of sweetness there. There's consistency though between these two wines. That's what I like about having multiple wines from the same winemaker. You know, you definitely get the consistency. You know, the integration of the different types of barrels. You know, it's similar in these two wines. Although because of the red, you're picking up more than in the Chardonnay, which makes me think that this probably was. It's hard to say. Let me go back here again. Okay, man, it's so amazing how similar they are. But I would say probably was more American oak here versus here, but they're so close. They're so close. These two wines when it comes to the taste. So there's a consistency across the board. You know, I like that. You know, you do know one is a red, one's a white, especially when you're tasting it, but there's consistency in that style of wine that they're producing. Now for the ultimate taste. Let's grate these wines. All right. All right. So the finish is dry, not overly dry. The finish is dry. It has a long flavor profile on each of these, and I do like going back to back how they're so similar in their style, even though they're two different wines. That there's no conflict going on. If you had both of these side by side at your table for your guests, there's no conflict going to happen here. Okay. In fact, I'd be curious to see if they'll both do well with the same type of food. All right, so if you ever get these two wines, have both of these wines with the same food and see what happens. I'm curious about that. The thing that gets me, though, is that there's a ripey fruitiness, but for me, there's just that little bit of sweetness. You know, I know the intent was to bring out more of the fruit because that finish is dry, but there's just a little bit of sweetness there. Not one is just over the top crazy, but it's there. And for me, I enjoy wines mainly with food. You know, but if I'm going to enjoy one on its own, I don't really want to have that sweetness. I want to have the complexities. You know, so I'm going to go 3/4 on both of these. I do like what they're doing here. I do like where they're going with these. Again, not overthinking it, just drinking wine, enjoying the wines. These are definitely good food partnered wines. I think they'd be great food partnered wines and be a good experimentation to have these wines with the same dish and see what happens. So there you have it. A 2021 bread and butter Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Chardonnay, a throwback to the classic style of California Chardonnays with a new school twist to it. You know, so there you go there. A lighter style Pinot Noir with just depth of flavor. So 3/4 on each of these. Can't go wrong with them. I think it'd be a good everyday drinker. I think it'd be an overall crowd pleaser as well. So, your Wisconsin Wine Guide says as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your wine. And I'm going to see if I can find some food to pair these with and see how they play. All right, see you next time. Ciao.